There are still rivers in the world which remain unexplored. They are remote, or inaccessible, or unnavigable. One such river is the Jokulsa in Iceland. The source of the Jokulsa is in the heart of Europe's largest glacier. Its course crosses one of the world's most active volcanic zones in a succession of waterfalls, canyons, and rapids. It's a river which has defied exploration until now. In 1983, an international team of 12 explorers attempted the first ever descent of the Jokulsa. To master the river would require all their courage and ingenuity. Wherever they could, the team would use kayaks. Their main backup would be lightweight aircraft called microlights. The microlights could be packed away and carried downriver in support rafts. They could be quickly reassembled to lift the team and their craft over obstacles like waterfalls and canyons. This was the plan. But could the team make it work? Jerry Breen, a leading aviator, would pilot the microlight. Jeb Stewart, an oarsman from Colorado, would man the support raft. 3 of the team would make the kayak descent. Benoit Dabou, a French canoeing instructor. Mick Coyne, an ex-Royal Marine commando. And a British research engineer who devised the expedition, Paul Vander-Molen. Most of the packing was completed in the last 10 days. 7 weeks' supplies for 12 people. The final stages were carried out at Vander-Molen's home in North London. All the equipment had to be individually labelled and checklisted. One vital item forgotten, and Iceland breakthrough could easily become Iceland breakdown. The team planned to sail from Scotland on the 20th of July, 1983. In Iceland, they would set up a base camp near the southern coast. From here, they planned to reach the source of the Jokulsa River by crossing the Vatnajökull ice cap. In an ice cave under the northern edge of this ice cap, the Jokulsa starts its journey to the Arctic Ocean. Sailing across was not only in keeping with the spirit of adventure, it would land them at their exact starting place in Iceland. They had been warned that the crossing would be rough. They hadn't expected calm seas and light breezes. After 3 days, the wind picked up. Some of the team were already in Iceland, scouting the landing area for a base camp. It was near to where the first Viking settlers had arrived over 1,000 years ago. Glaciers everywhere. No wonder the Vikings called it Iceland. As the boat came near, Jerry Breen flew out to greet them in the microlight. There was a final planning meeting chaired by the expedition leader, Paul Vander-Molen.
Our first objective was the river's source. To reach it, we planned to cross the Vatnajökull ice cap. This meant travelling up one of the glacier tongues, flowing from the ice plateau, some 5,000 feet above sea level. By the time we reached Iceland's southern coast, Jerry had already started scouting one such tongue. its base is a lake, which is joined to the sea by Iceland's shortest river.
They made their way into this lake, en route for the glacier's southern edge. Here, the team would set up camp.
We're going to catch this next eddy here.
We'll put a tent on that one.
I'll camp on this one. You get that one.
Your one's moving, I think. Moving home. Hey, pull.
I'm pulling.
Why don't you pull that thing up?
Our journey was in fact the exact opposite of that taken by giant icebergs which break from the glacier and float their way to the sea. Despite the icebergs, crossing the lake was still the easiest way for us to reach the glacier. Our aim throughout the expedition was to use the microlight not only to airlift supplies, but also as an all-round reconnaissance vehicle, as the expedition's eyes. As we crossed the lake, Jerry changed the microlight's undercarriage, and in 20 minutes, our land-based aircraft was transformed into a float plane. In fact, these floats were designed especially for the Iceland Breakthrough expedition. They were the first of their kind in the world to allow two people to take off from water in one microlight. This enabled us to fly with Jerry to find a route through the hundreds of moving icebergs. We wore glasses to protect against the effects of snow blindness and crash hats against anything else.
At the head of the lake, there would be a rendezvous with the Icelandic support team. They'd brought the heavier equipment and supplies round to the base camp. So far, so good. But now, Jerry Breen hit the expedition's first problem. Literally.
So obviously, in flight, what was happening was it was slowly filling with water while we were on the lake. And then in flight, it's run to the back of the aircraft and altered the attitude. And that's why we're having a job taking off. I heard a noise out there.
See how much water's in there?
It's obviously been an iceberg.
Can you lift it out? There's some water out there.
Actually,
it's in a horrible place as well. Can be done.
it's just what happened to the Titanic, isn't it?
Stop, because the seam's gone as well.
The next problem was to find some way of landing the microlight on the ice cap, 5,000 feet above.
Look, I don't like it. We've got to get up there somehow. I mean, I'm not taking it up on the snowcat. The
Why
only
not?
thing I can hope...
Why can't you take it on the snowcat?
Because it's going to shake the thing apart. It's like World War III up there.
You're just taking it up, you're taking it across all this bloody lot.
Now, I've been up the glacier this morning with Gisley, and there's no way that we can land there, not in this wind. I feel the wind coming down at the moment. It's really strong. The only thing I can hope is that we can either take off on wheels and you flatten an area on top for me.
You can't take off from skis down here?
Or try.
Where?
I obviously would prefer to go up in skis, over on the grass, on the other side of the road.
Take off on the grass?
I hope so.
You ever done that before?
No, never done it. God, let's hope it works.
Is that what he's on?
There's the first one. You can see it's all belt and brace technology here, can't you?
It's the bungees that get me.
The Wright brothers had nothing on me. Nothing. They were just amateurs. Okay, up on the nose. Hold it there. Back a bit.
Oh, thanks. Thanks very much. Right in the eye.
Come on, my pants are falling down.
Come on. Pants, they're trousers.
Jerry's flights had shown us that there was soft snow on top of the glacier. Here, the microlight would have to land on skis.
Okay.
This meant it would have to take off on skis.
All right, ready to go?
So no, this is rubbing here. Look.
Eh? Oh, I know. It's really bad.
This kind of takeoff had never been tried before. Our microlight weighed a mere 260 pounds. As it accelerated down our makeshift runway, no one, not even Jerry, was sure what would happen. With great relief, he launched himself once again into the record books.
To take supplies and equipment up and over the ice cap, the team planned to use a snowcat. At base camp, the Icelandic members of the expedition had adapted one for the crossing. It had to carry 2 tons of gear.
Okay, can we have some help over here, please? Some muscle. Move out.
Things were turning out well. Everything worked. Everybody seemed to pull their weight.
That's okay, I'll do it all.
The weather seemed settled. The expedition was on schedule. The team was in good heart for the long slog up the glacier. On the ground, progress was slow. Crevasses scarred the glacier, forcing the team to travel round them. Some of the crevasses were watercourses cut by melting ice. Others were huge tears caused by the movement of the glacier itself. They were often hidden by snow and could best be seen from the air. Jerry Breen, scouting ahead in his microlight, helped the team to find the best way up. Eventually, the team reached the top of the glacier. The Vander-Molen ice cap stretched before them.
This glacier is huge. It covers more than 1/12 of Iceland and actually creates its own weather system. We had to cross the glacier as quickly as possible. Jerry led, using a wingless microlight on the skis. One of our biggest fears was the weather's sheer unpredictability. Even in summer, blizzards up here can last for weeks. We had 50 miles to cross. We had travelled just 15 when the weather started to close in.
By dusk, the visibility was 0. The team had to stop and set up camp as best they could.
Are they in the box or the drum? Box. In the box. Which one box? You got a torch, Jerry. Hey? Jerry's gone. Jerry! What? You got a torch, mate.
A torch? We're in the middle of a cloud.
Look, I'll tell you what.
By morning, the weather was worse. The combined effect of wind and cold sent the temperature down to minus 35 degrees centigrade. Summer on the ice cap.
Ropes became steel rods. Ice formed like armour plating on our clothes, yet the snow remained too soft for tent pegs. We had to use skis instead.
Oh. Oh, man. Oh, that's real tight in the feet. Oh. Oh. Shoes is blowing out there. All the deck chairs are full up. You in the toilet? Yeah. I put some tea on.
You want tea?
Yeah, I love some tea. Yeah, I think we need to Someone to dig out some snow? There could be some in the cooker. I don't know, I cleaned it up this morning. It should be okay for a little while. Should be okay for some tea.
I don't think I've ever been on a river trip quite like this, Paul. This is a first for me. I need some fresh water and I can't use this.
You got a pot? Did you get me a shovel? Yeah.
Fill this up with a fresh snow for me.
Okay, mate.
This was just ridiculous. We'd come to Iceland to attempt the first descent of the Jokulsa and to try to prove that microlights and kayaks could be used together for river exploration, and pinned down by Iceland's raging weather, we were proving nothing and getting very cold in the process. On the third day, we lost the battle of continually digging out our tents. 3 of our robust homes collapsed under 5 foot of snow and ice. Time was running short. A slight lessening of the storm on the 5th day gave us just 4 hours to dig out the most vital supplies. Reluctantly, we decided to retreat from the glacier. Force 12 gales were predicted.
The weather was one problem. The other was time. Time was running out for the descent of the Jokulsa, the expedition's main aim. To gain a better chance of achieving it, the crossing of the ice cap had to be sacrificed, but no one enjoyed giving in. Back at base camp, Jerry Breen and Paul Vander-Molen decided to fly the microlight to the Jokulsa, straight over the ice cap. The rest of the team would take the long drive round. They planned to meet up at the river's source. The overland route involved crossing 10 rivers. Guðbrandur Jóhannsson, one of the Icelandic support team, took over. His knowledge of river crossing was vital. This rough 3-day journey through Iceland's volcanic wasteland would have shaken the microlight to bits. As the others approached the river, Jerry and Paul prepared for their 1-hour flight. Survival supplies, skis, and spare fuel were secured. On the 12th of August, the forecasts were excellent, and the dawn sky crystal clear. Traveling at 40 miles per hour, the microlight climbed to 8,000 feet. The effective temperature was 40 below zero.
3/4 of the way across, things started to go wrong. The entire northern edge of the glacier disappeared in a cloud that had risen from nowhere. We were forced to turn back. We then tried to fly around the glacier. This time, it wasn't just our prides that were dented. Halfway around, disaster struck. The exhaust sheared, and we crashed in the mountains, crumpling the undercarriage. Trapped once again by Iceland's weather, we were forced to live under the microlight's wing. We ate survival rations, and salvaging all we could, repaired the damaged undercarriage.
The microlight was dragged to a suitable takeoff area. The repairs held. The plane flew again. Near the river's source, the rest of the team waited, not knowing what had happened and fearing the worst.
I won't.
They were about to prepare a search and rescue attempt when the microlight finally arrived. 5 days late, the team was reunited. Mick Coyne, by far the team's most experienced mountaineer, took over above the ice caves. He supervised the fixing of the screws for his ropes, but the ice was soft and rotten. It would be a constant concern of the team during the next stage of the expedition. This was to reach the real source of the river. The team could see the Jokulsa emerging from the glacier several hundred feet below them. But the source was actually under their feet in a cave deep in the glacier, and there was an obvious way down. Geothermal heat had melted out a huge vertical chimney in the ice.
Use a single rope. Take all the strands.
An incredible battle of the elements was going on below. Boiling water and steam, rising from the very bowels of the earth, had melted out a vertical chimney straight up through the glacier. It was down this chimney that we intended lowering ourselves to get to the river's hidden source.
Okay, go on.
Right, babies, it's going nicely. Keep it running like this.
The steam from this geothermal source had polished the ice walls smooth. The team wore crampons to gain a grip on the glass-like surface.
Okay, let's go. Right, I need to cut my stuff in, haven't you? Okay, mate? Put your feet out. Okay, keep it going as it is. That's nice. That's good. So, Bronny, you just squash this rope down by my feet. Make sure it's feeding nicely. How you doing, Jeb? He's dead. Try and keep it slow, okay? If anything goes wrong with holding it, you can pull your rope. Okay, let me get down a few feet. Okay. Just gonna swing. Okay, it's good. Okay. Sure looks down there, yeah? Okay, we'll bring the last one down and then get the rope. Slowly, slowly. Okay, good.
150 feet down, the heat had gouged out a series of spectacular ice caves. The size of the cavern reminded us of the scale of forces at work here.
Hold on, Benoit. I'll have to take these crampons off your shoulder. You're Luke. Hey. Can you help Benoit? Use the deck lines. Last one.
Ice-cold water poured from the roof and walls, yet we discovered that the water flowing in the river was actually warm. Near Arctic conditions above, and here below a steamy river surrounded by ice. The contradiction was now total.
Warm. Do you want to practice for the big rapids and go for a swim?
Yeah.
Mick and Jeb lit 2 acetylene lamps, and as we moved away from the sunlit entrance, we decided to have our first hot bath for over 3 weeks. What perfect lodgings for a caveman, with a rare freak of nature providing the hot and cold running water.
The hot water supply seemed constant, but the cold, coming from melted ice, varied greatly. The team waited for the flow of water to swell and give them enough to use their kayaks. McCoy led the way. He not only started the descent of the Jokulsa, but the first descent anywhere in the world of a hot river flowing under ice. Ahead of the team stretched 125 miles of open river. The first 40 miles were pretty straightforward. Then, just above the first long stretch of rapids, the team set up another camp. A second support raft was waiting there for them, and a second microlight was on its way.
Try that off somewhere.
He's bringing Gisley, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Great.
So I'll be here in about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
Simon Baker, an Australian pilot, had been standing by 80 miles away. A radio call, and he soon arrived, bringing Gisley Hjalmarsson with him.
It's cold up there. It's cold. Yeah. Where's my Aussie suit? You see what I got? Old airplane boots from the last war, you know?
Gisley was an Icelander. He would man the second support raft. Simon would be a second aerial scout, another pair of eyes for the expedition.
Aluminium tubes, the Terraline wing, and the 440cc engine were carefully stowed down, but we still didn't know if Jerry's microlight could be successfully transported downriver through the rapids.
Where's Bruno going?
As the Jokulsa flows from the caves, it is joined by numerous ice-cold glacial streams. Simon flew ahead to guide us through the maze of passages in the braided section that followed. Now, the river is over a mile wide. The narrowing and quickening of the river soon confirmed the microlight's findings. We were approaching the first rapid. Mick, Benoit and myself led off in our kayaks, and contrary to our initial fears, Jeb's raft proved to be an excellent aircraft carrier.
The team members took it in turns to fly in the microlight to check out the rapids. These 20-minute reconnaissance flights saved them weeks of scouting by foot.
As we continued, the river became steeper and fiercer, some of the biggest rapids we had ever seen. Despite our aerial preview, reading the route down was still a problem once in our kayaks. The thick, dirty brown water obscured the volcanic rocks that dotted the river. Our main aim was keeping upright.
The biggest obstacle of all was just before them. Standing like a river fortress, Dettifoss, the most powerful waterfall in Europe, now blocked the way. Three miles above, the team stopped and set up camp. Their expedition was about to change from nautical to aeronautical.
Where do you want it, Jez?
Just lay it on the grass here, and we'll take the whole lot over. There looks a good area over there.
They'd proved that a raft could safely transport a microlight downstream with the kayaks. Now they wanted to prove that the kayaks could be carried downstream by the microlight. The microlight's wing is very similar to a hang glider's. The sail is terraline, reinforced with aluminium tubes and steel wire.
My hands are cold.
When we were carrying it through that rapid, the batten pocket went, I think.
Okay. Has it damaged it much, being on the raft?
A little bit. Where's Jeb gone?
Go and pick up the other kayak with Mick.
Who's Mick?
Where do you want these, Paul?
You can start on the machine, if you like.
I'll put this kayak straight on, Jerry.
Yeah, please. Can you get some rope? Volcanic mud in everything.
With the 440cc engine, the plane carries 400 pounds and takes off and lands in about 50 to 100 yards of clear ground. Its adaptability was just about to be put to the test.
Iceland's cold or something?
This is the worst summer they have ever had.
I'd been fascinated by this idea for the past 18 months. Was it really possible to airlift kayaks to jump over waterfalls?
Don't worry about the kayak.
One of our biggest unknowns was the air turbulence created by the waterfall itself.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If our miniature planes could overcome this, we could set up a shuttle service, making full use of their 400-pound carrying capacity.
Dettifoss had been conquered. The microlights set off to reconnoiter the next section of river. No more waterfalls, just 15 miles of canyon and non-stop rapids. A new base was set up below Dettifoss.
Both our Puma Sprint microlights and our Olymp 5 kayaks were built for us in Britain. Designed to weigh 32 pounds, the kayaks were light enough to be airlifted and yet strong enough to withstand the immense pressures of the Jokulsa. The microlights had proved their worth. Now it was for us, travelling as light as possible with just one raft, rowed by Jeb, to tackle probably the most difficult stage of the expedition. Benoit, a top French kayakist and at 21, the youngest of our team, was to lead the first section. We'd already seen the rapids from the air, but the sheer scale of the water only hits you when you're at river level. We scouted the first section on foot to see some of the hazards at close quarters.
There's a hole over there. There's young up there.
Yeah, that's coming back.
I think a swim could seriously impair your chances of drawing a pension.
I wonder how hard that wave at the bottom is washing back.
The team squeezed into their kayaks. The cockpits were sealed with a neoprene spray cover, not to keep them in, but to keep the river out. In the canyon, the Jokulsa ran deep. Now boulders weren't the biggest worry. The main problem was stoppers. A stopper is a type of particularly dangerous turbulence. If a kayakist goes under in a stopper, he can be held under indefinitely. Here, Paul Vander-Molen was lucky to get away with just a soaking. Above, the microlights followed, carrying 2 spare kayaks. About halfway down, Paul Vander-Molen was leading. He and Benoit Debout successfully negotiated a tricky section. Below, they waited for McCoy, part of their normal safety routine.
Suddenly, Mickey hit a stopper and disappeared. When he finally reappeared, he was already half out of his boat. His spray deck had been ripped off, and the boat was filling up. Mickey was now fighting for his life, trying to catch his breath before being pulled down under the next wave. Time was running out. Mickey had been in the water a long time and was losing strength. but as long as we could see him, we had a chance of pulling him to safety. Suddenly, we lost sight of him again. Our river descent was turning into a survival run. The raft too was filling with water. The crew, pretty well exhausted, bailed continuously.
Bail! Bail!
Mick appeared for a short moment, enough for Benoit to dart into the current to drag him to safety, just above the next boulder garden of rocks and rapids. The raft, now completely out of control, was being smashed against the sharp canyon walls. We took Mickey to the bank and set off to follow the runaway raft and retrieve Mickey's lost kayak. When we reached the others, the smashed raft had been washed up into an eddy, the first for over 10 miles.
Mixed up there, I think.
I thought I was over 4 or 5 times. I think we have a hole in the floor. I don't believe it.
Just didn't stop.
Oh. We got a full day of repair, at least. Never have I seen anything. Well, I have seen it, but I've never been in it.
Here comes Mick.
It's another day at the beach. Yeah. Everybody but the boat.
How'd you break it anyway?
Ran into a wall, broke the oar I was using.
So when I came
broke
past
that
you, you
one.
were
Both
stuck
of them
against
just snapped. Gone. Then we hit the next wall and broke the tube. I could not pull over. No way. Not
No, I
possible.
didn't think you could.
Yeah, we can have a fire tonight.
Have we got gloves?
Despite the organisation and planning, expeditions still require a great amount of luck. And today, we had been very lucky.
Rocks. We've got to make a big pile of rocks. Can't leave a fire.
Roast sausage. Now when you get sick, you'll know why.
You want some meatballs in there?
We've got meatballs and hot dogs.
Reflecting on the previous day's occurrences, I wondered what the remaining 8 miles of canyon would have to offer. The torn raft was serious, but could be repaired. The oars could be replaced, but the real disaster was the sad loss of our last can of beer.
It would take 2 days to repair the damaged raft. As the team explored their surroundings, it soon became obvious why the American astronauts had decided to train there before the first moon landing. Vegetation, and especially trees, are sparse. In fact, the camp was one of the few sheltered places downriver where small trees and bushes grew.
Oh. 8 o'clock, mate. There's hot water on there in the bottom. Yeah. Jeb in it. Jeb.
Good morning.
Today.
Mickey led the last rapid. In high spirits, we completed our canyon descent and entered the calmer stretches of river that would lead us to the Arctic Ocean.
On September the 2nd, 1983, the team reached the sea. Despite all the problems and their earlier disappointments, they had achieved their main objective. Their unique way of descending the Jokulsa had worked. They'd found a new way of exploring the more inaccessible areas of our planet. They'd found it through determination, ingenuity, and a sense of adventure. The Iceland breakthrough had been made.